Hello and welcome to Traffic Paradise Radio. Joining me today are Tay and Niamh. Hello.
Hi.
Okay, you might have noticed from hello Eliza, welcome. Nice to see you. You might have noticed that we didn't have the normal intro. Because Immy is not here, we're using my computer to run this whole thing, and my computer is, I think you'd have more luck trying to run this off of like a calculator than off of my computer. So we have a very different show for you today. We won't have the graphics and like the cool song, like the cool music and everything, because I don't think my computer can handle that. However, Tay and Niamh are here, so if I disappear into the void, Tay and Niamh have got your back, and they will carry the show on their backs. Okay, so before we start, there is a bit of a new technical directive this race. So I wanted to know from Tay and Niamh, do you think that the new front wing technical directive is going to have much impact on the sort of the pace and the performance of teams like McLaren and Mercedes and possibly Ferrari?
Well,
what are your thoughts on that? Niamh, let's start with you.
I don't think it'll have too much of an effect overall, because I think the teams will have obviously seen that that's coming in and done something about it. However, I think it would be very, very funny if, like, I don't know, McLaren suddenly had a massive, massive problem with it, because they've got such a big lead. To like lose it now would be pretty funny. But no, I don't think there'll be too big of an impact overall. Maybe Sauber will go further back, but that'll be P19 and P20 instead of P18 and P20. So won't make much of a difference to them.
Tay, your thoughts?
yeah, so Red Bull seem to think that it will affect McLaren significantly. I think McLaren and Mercedes have both said that it won't affect them, like it won't really affect them at all. They've already like steered away from flexi wings. I honestly think the standings will remain the same in terms of fastest car. I can't see it changing that much, considering all the warning that they've had to change these wings.
Yeah, okay. It's not like
so basically Christian Horner is not going to be happy.
Yeah.
Is he ever happy?
Okay. I mean, I think there was a brief time on WhatsApp when he was slightly excited, but we won't go into that. So
what on earth? Not even 5 minutes.
Epic.
Oh my God.
So, and we are very excited to be returning to a track where overtakes can happen. How are you guys feeling about the race ahead? Are you excited?
I'm excited to see how the cars rank in Barcelona, because wait, is it Barcelona? Yes, Barcelona, Catalonia. Because it is the most average track. Like day 2 testing here. If you guys watch Mr. V's Garage, he figured out upon like actual like data, it is the most average track. So therefore, the best performance at this track should be the best car in general. And it seems like it is McLaren as the fastest, but I want to see how these like second, third, and fourth teams rank on this track, because it's been pretty close, and each track it seems to waver, but I'm excited to see how it happens.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I think it'll be interesting to see how all the other cars rank up. I also think it'll be pretty fun to see a lot of action because it's a really fun track. Like, even if you're just playing like the F1 game or something, it's a nice track to drive. And yeah, it's given some interesting things over the years. 2016 in particular. It's always the first one that jumps to mind whenever I think of Spain. But no, we've had a lot of interesting incidents there over the years. We've had good racing. And yeah, let's just hope that this year stays interesting and we don't lose that completely because we had a slightly interesting Monaco.
I mean, I think we disagree on what interesting, the definition of interesting there, but yeah.
I said slightly interesting.
So we do have some predictions for you. So I think if I just like disappeared from the face of the earth, possibly. If I'm like dying, please let me know in the chat, in the private chat, Tay and Niamh. I feel like to the void, but yeah. So let's try to do some predictions, and hopefully I will not.
It's getting pretty
lose connection.
Yeah.
So Tay.
Yes. My predictions? Okay. So I went with Oscar Piastri for pole position. I kind of went through the Uno route of just throwing a couple random names out there and just seeing what sticks. So my pole position was Oscar. I know, fastest car. Pretty good. Okay. Fastest driver, fastest car. Controversial, maybe. But I think on the most average track, I think that's a pairing that will take pole position. Niamh, do you have a pole
My
position?
prediction for pole is, funnily enough, also Oscar Piastri.
Who could have guessed?
Wow. I know. It's almost like being a fast driver in a fast car means you're likely to do well.
Yeah.
Shocking. I know. But no, I put Oscar down. I was between the two McLarens, to be fair. Like, I feel like I don't tend to give Lando as much like compliments and stuff as I do Oscar. And I'm going to try and work on that. I'm going to stop being so biased. But yeah, Oscar, I picked him over Lando just because he seems to have just worked on his qualifying pace. And testing didn't look too bad. Like, some of the testing, Oscar hasn't been too bad around this track in the past. So yeah, I think it'll be between the two of them, but I think Oscar might just tip it. I think it'll be quite close though. Like,
yeah, I think
less than a tenth of a second in it. So
yeah, I think it'll definitely be a close qualifying. We have a comment. I think Loka, maybe. I think Lando will take pole. He's going to have confidence after Monaco last year or last week, I think. And we have seen this season that McLaren are good at a lot of tracks. I think Verstappen joins him on the front row. I think those were the three I was going between for pole position. I originally did write down Max, but then I remembered the McLaren is quick. So I changed it.
Which actually segues quite well into everyone else's pole positions. So Kira, she also predicted Oscar, and everyone else predicted Lando. So when the McLaren flops this weekend, we all just have to laugh because we jinxed them.
I think recently, we don't have the graphics today, but recently our graphics have been looking very orange.
Very.
And this week would be no different.
Yeah.
Do we want to move on to the P1 prediction?
Yes. So, Tay, what is your prediction for who is going to come third?
Third.
So we'll work our way up to first.
Let's go up, yes.
Leave a bit of suspense in it.
Yeah. I have put down Lando for P3. I think, as I said, it's between it's between the McLarens and Max, and maybe a Ferrari or a Mercedes in there as well. And I think Lando will just come out on the bottom step of the podium. What do you think, Niamh?
I agree with you. However, mine was slightly different reasoning. I think there might be a bit of an incident or something that drops Lando down a little bit. Instead of it being a 1-2 McLaren in qualifying to Lando finishing P3, I just think there might be a little incident or something he gets caught up in that causes him to maybe pit again or drop down the order a little bit for whatever reason. So, but I still think they're going to be quite strong. And I think he's going to have a good weekend overall and maximize the points that he could get if he does get into an incident.
Yeah, I agree. I think the McLarens are going to have a strong weekend no matter what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to jinx it.
Yeah, we've jinxed it. So everyone else has been kind of mixed. Lee agrees with the two of us that it is going to be Lando standing on the third step of that podium. Kira and Uno have gone in a slightly different direction. They've gone for George Russell. And then Immy and Willow have, much like Tay was saying, where it's between the McLarens and Max, they've gone for Max P3 on the podium. So, bit of a mixed bag for P3 from all of us.
Yeah. I think it's all about how it's up in the air about what cars will do well on this track as the most average track with such close standings, and probably the new change about the front wings as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I think we're gonna get close racing. I really, really hope it's very close. I know that sounds silly to say, but especially with the new wings and stuff, because there could be one team that completely nails it and they're driving off, lapping everyone twice, and it's oh well, that's not fun.
Yeah.
Whereas if even McLaren struggles a tiny little bit just to give Max and the Mercedes just that little bit more to get closer to them, then I think we could be in for a really, really interesting weekend. That'll be so fun.
Yeah. On the topic of the new wings as well, do you think any team might push the limits a little bit and get a penalty or a disqualification even?
Ooh, that would be fun.
That'd be exciting.
I don't think any of them will push that hard because obviously it's the last year of the regulations. We're a third of the way through the season already. And honestly, I don't know what benefit any of them would see. Having said that, it's now going to be Sauber that do it. They're going to break the regulations somehow. They won't realize, but
they won't know.
We'll just get a random disqualification and be like, what for? Yeah, so actually that entire bit of the car is illegal.
And it's illegal. No one really cares. It's not doing anything anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, do we want to move on to the P2 predictions?
Yes. My P2 prediction is Charles. I think Ferrari can really do better. They didn't have a particularly bad weekend by their standards in Monaco, but I think they're going to just try and keep that going for as long as possible. I do think that this might see Lewis struggling a little bit. They focus more on whichever driver's leading, very much have a 1-2 going on, but I think it'll be a pretty fun fight. And again, this will happen because Lando will get into an incident or something. And yeah, so it'll be quite interesting, I think, if that does happen. What's your prediction?
I've gone with Max for P2. You can never count him out of the contention for a podium. And I think I saw, I've been keeping up with it on Twitter, actually. There's an account that's been posting when Max has a podium and when he doesn't. And it's alternating. completely. Since the beginning of the season, it's been podium, no podium, podium, no podium, podium, no podium each week. And there was no podium last week in Monaco for him. So I guess this week he's on the podium. That's just how it works.
Can't count him out at all.
Yeah.
Speaking of podiums, this is a really, really fun statistic that I saw. Oscar has had 7 podiums in a row, like a 7 podium streak. He is one of 4 McLaren drivers to do that. You know who the other 3 are? Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost, and Lewis Hamilton.
Well, he might just be the greatest of all time then.
Yeah.
In contention.
Not bad. Not bad.
Yeah.
Especially considering he's only on year 3.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like people tend to forget that about Oscar because he just seems to be doing so well that people forget that actually he was a rookie 2 years ago.
Yeah.
3 years ago, he didn't have a seat. Like, that's just insane. He's come in so quickly and he's doing so well.
Yeah, it's incredible. To be leading the championship in your 3rd year, it's a big feat.
Mm-hmm.
We should move on to everyone else's P2 predictions now.
Yes.
What have we got? It looks like Uno and Immy have gone for Lando. Willow Piastri. Lee has also gone for Lando. And Kira has chosen Max. So pretty much what we expected, I think.
Yeah.
Just the people that are usually in contention for it.
Mm-hmm. I think I'm the only one that's thrown in a bit of a wild card one there.
I think so. But you never know what happens.
Forza Ferrari.
Forza Ferrari. I like to Forza Ferrari here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And do we want to go on to our winner predictions?
Yes. I think that at the end of the day, in Spain, it will be Oscar Piastri stood on the top step. Mainly because I've already predicted him for pole. So he's had not bad race starts. He's like the only ones he's sort of struggled with have been really when Max was there and he got caught napping a little bit. That's the only ones I can think of, at least. And so he's going to do well. Obviously, the McLaren's fast. He's a fast driver. And I think one of the main reasons, like I've mentioned before, is I think Lando will be involved in some sort of incident that drops him back a little bit. So we can't get the proper McLaren 1-2 fight for the lead, which will just enable Oscar to drive off into the distance and extend his championship lead a little bit.
Yeah, I'm in a similar situation. I also chose Oscar. Just the pole to win conversion, I think he has like a crazy high percentage of pole to win conversion. I think it's all but one, right?
Yeah, he nearly became the first driver to win from their first 3 poles, but obviously he didn't win in Imola, so that screwed that up. So
yeah. So I think he'll do a pole to win conversion. I think when I was writing these predictions, I also thought there would be an incident. I think because Max is very good into the first corner, always aggressive to try and get that lead and then just go from there. I think a P2 P3 collision maybe will happen, and that means Oscar will just be able to drive off into the distance.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assumption. So who has everyone else predicted? We have Uno, who thinks we will see a Max win. Again, going with the narrative of you can never count Max out. And then Immy, Lee, and Kira have all predicted that Oscar is going to win. And Willow has said that Lando Norris will win. Again, we are coming back to the McLarens and Max. McLarens and Max. Always the 3 of them. So, yeah, that's always the 3 of them, I guess.
Yeah, just McLaren and Max all the way.
Mm-hmm.
Every week so far. At least it's not the total domination of one team or one driver like we saw in 2023.
Yeah.
But it is just the same people over and over.
Get a bit of spice in there. Get us some Ollie Behrman podium.
Yeah. Get us an Esteban Ocon win.
Yes!
That would be great.
That would be amazing. If that happens, I'll dye my hair red.
Honestly, me too. I'll get a horse.
I'm not allowed to have my hair red because dancing, but I'll do it anyway.
Fair enough. Should we move on to the wildcard predictions?
Yes. So, Tay, what absolutely wild thing do you think is going to happen?
I predicted that Carlos Sainz is going to get 0 points. I'll admit, when I wrote this, I did forget that it was his home race, and now I feel really bad for predicting 0 points at home race. But also, if you look at the standings, I don't want to jinx anything, but the championship standings, there is a driver about 2 points behind him, and I might be wearing his hat right now, and I don't want to say anything out loud, but if he scores points and Carlos Sainz doesn't, he will overtake him in the championship for P11. So it's really me just hoping and not predicting.
Yeah. That's fair enough, I think. You might have jinxed him, so he's gonna now go and like get a podium or something.
Yeah.
Start to catch Alex up. I love the fact that we've gone from like predicting Williams points as a wild card to no, we're actually predicting that the Williams isn't going to score points.
Yeah.
Really says a lot about
how far they've developed in the last 2 years.
Okay, so my wild card is that George Russell's little meltdown, breakdown, whatever it was that was going on in Monaco, is going to continue. Okay. I don't think he will be suggesting that planes drop water on the circuit this time, though. I think it might be more directed at the stewards when he's just like, because obviously he cut the corner and was like, and his engineer was like, okay, give the place back to Alex. We're going to get a 5-second penalty. And George was like, I'm taking the penalty. I'll just take it. And then he got a drive through.
Yeah.
So I think something like that will continue. Fernando Alonso will score points. Well, I hope so, because it's been like his worst start since he was like an actual rookie.
Yeah, it's been very crazy to see him score nothing week upon week upon week. I know my Spanish friend is very mad, but yeah, I hope he scores points, honestly, at his home race. And finally, after all these weeks, it needs to happen, really.
100%. So, do we want to alternate for the other wildcards? Do you want to start with Uno and then I'll do Immy's?
Sure. Uno's wildcard is Yuki and Red Bull win. Oh, won't destroy my soul. Okay. He split the message into 2 different sentences there. Yuki and Red Bull won't destroy my soul. I'm hopeful. I am very, very, like, not disappointed, but like, I've been very down lately about how Yuki has been performing. It's not entirely his fault. Some things, he is making small mistakes, but that's granted when he's been working every single weekend since the beginning of the season. If you like look at he's done a triple header, then 1 week off where he went to Milton Keynes to work on the simulator, and then a double header, and then 1 week off where I think he was doing PR stuff at the factory simulator work, and then a triple header again. It's a lot, and he's in this car that is very difficult for anyone to drive. It's very sad to see him struggling this much. And I know in Monaco, I was watching the race. It was like 11 p.m. I was watching on my phone, and I was just so sad to see him stay in that P13 position. But this week, I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful. We can do it.
Yeah. I have faith in Yuki. I don't necessarily have faith in the Red Bull.
That's exactly where I stand.
Mm-hmm. So, continuing on with the wildcards, Immy has predicted that Ferrari is going to have a 3+ second pit stop. You know what? I think that's fair enough. They're overdue for it. They've got like the top 6 fastest pit stop times of the entire season so far. And then the whole top 10 is like 2 Red Bulls and 2 RBs. So I also think this may be Immy losing her mind over McLaren's slow stops. So maybe a little bit to do with that. But yeah, we'll see if it happens. Although I do find it so funny that Ferrari is currently leading the pit stop championship. Like there was someone's made a graphic for it. I don't know if it's like an official thing or whatever, but they've got like 150 something points and everyone else is on like 70.
Wow.
And it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
they're quick at pit stops.
yeah, they realized they were having issues in the pits, so they fixed that and the car just disappeared. So
Yeah. Focused on the wrong thing, I think.
yeah.
I mean, I guess you got to balance them out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go on to Willow's prediction. And Loka, you're going to like this. Fernando first points of the season. I think we've already said we want it to happen. We want to see him succeed. And let's hope it's this week.
Yeah. Lee has predicted that there is going to be a collision between 2 bottom 5 constructors. So obviously that is your Sauber, your V-Carb. Is V-Carb in the bottom 5? Yeah, V-Carb is in the bottom 5. Aston.
Yes.
I've forgotten all the other teams. Alpine. Who's the other one?
Who are we missing? Haas?
Oh, yeah, Haas. Oh.
Why is it so hard to remember?
I don't know. Like, I can list off the top 5, and I can list them all off as a group of 10, but I can never do certain ones. Yeah. So, anyway, a collision between either an Alpine, a Haas, an Aston, a Sauber, or a V-Carb.
Yes.
Got them that time. So proud of myself. Okay.
Ferrari changed their rear wing to the 2024 rear wing for Monaco. They changed their whole car in 2025, and the second they changed it back, they perform. I didn't know they changed their rear wing back to 2024. That's interesting, though.
I do remember hearing about that. So I hope they do that for Silverstone as well. Because I think I saw speculation that it was because they wanted Leclerc to do well at his home race, because obviously he won it last year, and that'd be pretty embarrassing for them to do that bad. So I hope they do something like that for Silverstone, so we can get a Lewis podium.
That would be good. I agree. I want to see a Lewis podium in Silverstone. So let's move on to Kira's prediction. Okay, yeah. Mercedes won't have a horrific race, and by that she means there'll be points for both cars. You would think at the beginning of this season that would be a given, that Mercedes would score double points, but recently it seems like they've been having trouble, and just what was it in qualifying in Monaco, like an engine failure or electrics failure?
Yeah, the engine of George's car just sort of gave up, and I felt really, really bad for him because he was like 1/100th of a second or something off of Max in Q1, and so he could have technically been in the fight for pole. Do I think he would have? Probably not, but he could have technically been there, but his car just died. So
yeah, he could have definitely been in the top 3 or 4 on the grid, but I don't know what happened there, because is it the Mercedes like power unit, the engine, something electrics?
I genuinely have no clue.
I'll have to go and read up on that and see what happened, because it didn't happen to any other Mercedes-powered cars.
Yeah. Although I do remember a bunch of people, was it in Miami, where Gabriele Bortoleto and Ollie Behrman's cars just gave up, and then people were like, oh my god, that's Ferrari power units, we're screwed, and then just nothing happened, and I was like, oh, that was a bit underwhelming. But yeah,
it might have just been a one-off thing.
That's 2 weeks in a row for them, because obviously they had Kimi's car die in Imola.
Yeah.
Let's hope it's not going to be 3. I think Kira would lose her mind.
Uno misses us.
Aw, very sweet of you. Toto has hinted that he expects Ferrari to have the potential to benefit most from the Formula One rule change on flexi wings being introduced at the Spanish Grand Prix. Interesting. Well, let's hope, because they need a miracle.
To benefit.
And this might be the miracle they need. Let's hope. Right.
Yeah. Makes sense.
I think that is all of our predictions.
Yes. We apologize
I'm
again.
try and pop back in now. Let me know if you can hear me.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
Okay. The internet gods have blessed us for a brief moment. You guys are doing great, by the way. Thank you so much for running the show unexpectedly and without warning. I do appreciate it. And again, apologies for the lack of graphics and general standards that we have at TPR. We are a small channel, but we do try and do our best. But today we were, well, not we. I was severely lacking in the internet department, and that rendered the entire effort like rather problematic. So yeah, thanks to you two for holding down the fort. It's awesome that you have done that without graphics, and I've been secretly typing to them in the private chat, and they have really just run like they were just like, oh, we're just going off of like, you know, what we know, and they've done a great job. So thank you. I really appreciate it. I think maybe, do you want to say anything else about maybe where the championship stands, both in terms of constructors, in which McLaren is very clearly ahead, and then also in terms of drivers, which is a lot closer after Monaco? How do you guys think that that's going to play out? Let's not say over the entire season, but perhaps up to summer break.
I think McLaren are just going to...
You look like you want to say something.
Yes. I think McLaren are going to run away with the championship from here. I'm just checking like what races are coming up after Monaco. I mean, after Spain. So it's Canada, Austria, Great Britain, Belgium. Okay, so it's the European races. Oscar did really well in Europe last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he was the driver that scored the most points.
Yeah, so I think if he can repeat that, then he's going to be the championship. Like,
yeah,
I think he's going to take the championship. I don't know if he will do the same. Tay and Niamh for Paradise Game. Thank you. I don't know if he will score quite as well as he did last season, just considering how close the top few teams are. But I think if he has a decent European stint, he will come out on top by summer break. And yeah, I think McLaren are just they've got it.
Yeah, it would definitely take something for McLaren to lose it now. Although it would be pretty funny if they did manage to, like, they had such a big lead and then they bottle it. Like, that would be pretty funny, but I don't think that's going to happen. I did not realize, thank you, Loka, for commenting this. Mercedes is in second with 147, Red Bull in third with 143, and Ferrari in fourth with 142.
Wow.
I did not
I'm not
realize
glad it was
that there was only 5 points in it. I thought it was more than that. But
I thought it was a lot, like the gaps were a lot bigger.
Well, I mean, McLaren's on like 300, so
Yeah.
the gap's there.
I think if Yuki has some time to get used to that car and perfect the setup, and I think a lot of people have been talking about getting his setup closer to Max's. I know definitely his dad was talking about that, controversially, but he was. If Yuki can get that setup right and get to know that car, they might jump Mercedes. Oh yeah, with it being so close, I think Ferrari and Red Bull could jump if Mercedes continue their Monaco struggles. Exactly. Like what we said about the Mercedes just giving up on the driver. If that keeps happening, then I think definitely they'll keep falling down the order.
Yeah. Especially if Mercedes have their power unit blowing up every single race. Like that's if they score, even if one of their cars explodes and the other one finishes P10, they're on 148. Assuming Max gets any kind of podium position, well, that's Red Bull in second. If Ferrari gets the podium that I predicted them, that's them up to third. And then, yeah, I think it'll be quite interesting to watch it fight out. Maybe not for the actual title, but I think it'll be very, very hard to throw.
Yeah.
Although I do think that by the time we get to summer break, it is going to be very much a McLaren title fight with Max still technically in contention, but in the kind of contention where everyone's like, oh yeah, you'd have to have the drivers crash out 3 races in a row, score 0 points, and this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
But he'll still technically be in it. But I think it'll be really, really interesting.
I think so too. And I want to draw your attention because we always focus on the top 3, 4, 5 teams. But if you look at P6 and P7 in the championship, that's Haas on 26 points and Racing Bulls on 22 points. And with the double points haul by the Racing Bulls in Monaco, if they can repeat that, they're looking at moving up to P6 and possibly competing with Williams in the future if they can keep that like momentum up. And especially the way Hadjar has been performing, he's really impressed me. If he keeps scoring these P6s, P7s, I think they're on their way to a few $1 million in championship winnings.
Yeah. I think that as of right now, I think if I was in charge of picking like Rookie of the Year and all that for the end of year gala, I would seriously be considering giving it to Isaac Hadjar. Because even though technically he's being outscored by Kimmy is in a top team.
Exactly.
Like, even though it's like when you're looking at rookies this year, we've technically had what, five rookies we started the year with? 5. Gabrielle
Lawson.
Yeah. There's
6 if you count Lawson.
Hi, Uno.
Yeah. So let's say there was technically.
Hi. Sorry,
5.
I when I have internet, I jump back on.
Yeah, okay.
We just got right there. So we technically started the year out with 5 rookies, but you can't really count Liam because he did like more than half a season between 2 years, so he's not a rookie. And you can't really count Kimmy in the rookie-ness with everyone else because he's in a significantly better car. But Isaac and even Ollie, because he was technically not a rookie, which is why they had to give his car up for a free practice session because he'd started too many races in 2024. Even them, like, Isaac has been such a standout. Like, even looking back at F2, where he was like in it with Gabrielle right up until the end, when his car stalled, he didn't lose that title fight on anything other than pure bad luck. It's not like he crashed out and that's why, or he just wasn't driving well. It was because his car stalled and he couldn't get up the order enough. I was absolutely gutted for him when that happened, but genuinely, he has been the rookie that surprised me the most, partially due to the car being good enough to get him there, but even just watching some of like the onboards and stuff I've seen of him, hella impressive. Like, oh my god. And Alex Albon as well.
Yeah. Alex
Yeah,
Albon.
can I jump in here?
Yeah, sure.
While I have connection. As Lucas said, Haja and Albon have surprised me the most this season, and I gotta agree with that. I mean, Albon has definitely been the sort of Williams have kind of overtaken Aston in that like middle of the road, not quite midfield, not quite top team kind of category. And when it comes to Albon, everyone said Sainz was gonna like destroy him this season. Meanwhile, Albon's sitting in P8 and Sainz is in like P11, I think. And with like a very big points difference there. So I really think that Albon has just been phenomenal this season. And I mean, it kind of contributed to my very wrong prediction that Albon would have a podium in Monaco. But it's because he's done so well that I do think he has the potential, with a bit of luck and some bad luck for some other teams, that he could work his way onto the podium in that Williams this season. Definitely before the summer break. I think after the summer break, they might struggle because Williams aren't doing more upgrades. So, you know, it is what it is. But I do think that he's got his best opportunity since he's joined Williams to get onto the podium. And yeah, I'm so thrilled to be watching his season, because it is just so refreshing to see a midfield team do so well. And as much as, look, if you were watching us last year, we were not the biggest fans of Williams, and by that I mean James Vowles. But you know, he's
not
made
the drivers. We liked the drivers. We just didn't like where the team was going.
Yeah. I mean, even like Franco, Logan, Alex, we have lots of love for them. Carlos, not so much, especially from certain corners of TPR. It is what it is. But Alex is he's phenomenal this season. He really is. He's just proven that he really deserves to be like, I could totally see Albon in Mercedes or Ferrari or McLaren. Red Bull, no, but better for Albon not to go there, you know? But yeah, I can totally see him being a driver for one of those teams. And I think that those teams are gonna, you know, I don't know what happens to Hamilton at the end of the season. If it's a write-off, maybe he just schemes like, nah, I'm gonna go home, bro. Like, I'm done, you know. And Max might also think I'm done. And then, you know, there's all those rumors of George going to Red Bull or Oscar going to Red Bull and like all these things. Albon could totally end up in one of those top teams for 2026, if not 2027. And so, you know, I think he's fluffed up his CV enough this season to prove that he deserves a shot in a race-winning car. And props to James Vowles for building him a car that he can, you know, showcase his true worth in. Well done. As I said, everyone thought Carlos was gonna destroy him, and that's not the case at all. He's held his own more than, and Albon surprised me the most this season. Hajar, as we've said, brilliant season from him, rookie season, doing what he needs to do, making Liam Lawson look less than stellar, and, you know, props to him. Isaac, doing well. So yeah, I can definitely see the shot for him being rookie of the year. Definitely, 100%.
Something that I just want to speculate on really quickly is how much of the Williams like improvements do we think are because they're no longer using like what was it, a spreadsheet to track every single part of the car? Like, do we think that's got anything to do with it, or because that was one of the most like insane things I'd ever heard. James Wells was just like, yeah, actually, we were tracking everything individually on a spreadsheet. I was like, excuse me?
Yeah.
I like my spreadsheets, but I like my spreadsheets to look at lap time data for F1 Academy, where there's only 18 cars, because I can cope with that. I can do a team at a time. I can't imagine trying to track every single piece you need for a Formula One car on a spreadsheet. Like, that's just...
Yeah, that was crazy to me. And like, I think just the management of that team had a huge overhaul. Not like necessarily in personnel, it was partially, but just with how things were organized. And that probably had a huge impact on how that team has performed.
Mm-hmm.
The spreadsheet is just crazy.
Yeah. Like, I feel like it's one of those things that we like, everyone was like, what? Oh my God, for like a week, and then we forgot about it. So I'm bringing it back up. We're remembering that now.
And I remember it came back up when we had that, was it the Microsoft outage last
Yeah.
year? And everyone was like, no, Williams are going to lose their car.
Yeah, when Mercedes couldn't get any other things to turn on because they were sponsored by whatever company it was that went out.
Yeah.
That was pretty funny.
I was pretty harsh on James Vowles last season because he kept speaking about, especially when they like let go of Logan, he kept speaking about being a meritocracy. And I was like, bro, where's your meritocracy? Your team's doing terribly. You're running shit off Excel. Like, that's not a meritocracy. Like, if you want to be a meritocracy, that's all good. But like, it's got to apply to everyone, not just your drivers, And whether or not you agree with the decision to let go of Logan and bring in Colapinto and then bring in Sainz, etc., like, I think this season he's stepped up in terms of what he's brought to the table as a team principal and the people around him. And I've got to sort of, I forget what the idiom is, but like eat my hat. I don't know. I think that's a South African thing. I don't think that's a eat my words. Maybe, I don't know. Yeah, eat my hat is a very South African thing because a politician literally did that when he got called out for being full of himself. But yeah, it's just like, well, he didn't actually eat his hat. He just like, there were like photos of him like biting down on like his hat because he said, if I don't do well in elections, I'll eat my hat. And all the journalists were like, well, you didn't do well. Time to eat your hat. So yeah. But yeah, I think that's just a South African thing. So whatever I need to eat, I shall eat it, because James Vowles has done a very good job this season with the team. And I don't think anyone was expecting Williams to be this strong. So props to him and apologies for me. I was wrong,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
the thing is, with James Vowles, I have... Oh, there's an echo from somewhere.
I'll mute myself again.
The thing is, with James Vowles, a lot of people didn't like him at the end of last year. And I think that was completely deserved because they obviously signed Carlos, but they didn't announce that Logan wasn't getting re-signed before. So they could have just said, okay, Logan will not be rejoining the team for a year after. He's not getting an extension. Fair enough. But instead of doing that, they just posted, yeah, we've got Carlos now. Deal with it. It was like, that's not. And then the Williams PR team posted a video of James Vowles announcing it to the factory and then being like, oh, everyone's so excited. And it cut to like a picture of like 4 people clapping. And we were like, okay. And then even after he dropped, even after Logan got dropped, it was a bit like he kept talking about Logan and being like, oh, Franco's so much better. You've already dropped him. You don't need to keep beating the dead horse. Like, the guy's career is pretty much in shambles. You can't just keep going on and on about him. Like, that, I really didn't like that. But it was also because when he was talking about Carlos, he was like, I've signed him to be a leader. And I was like, you've had Alex since like 2022. If anything improves in that team, driver-wise, it is because of Alex. Like, the car gets better because of his input. It will not get better because of someone that hadn't had a chance to get anywhere near it at any point.
This is a good
Logan
question.
Sargent return to F1 with the American team Cadillac joining 26 and possibly wanting an American driver. And then Loca says that they think they'll go for somebody like Perez, Ricardo, Bottas, or Magnussen.
I think I saw, I don't know if it was an official source or just some speculation, but I saw some people saying that Cadillac had turned away from wanting an American driver and they'd moved towards they want experience over an American. I think Logan possibly could return, but I would say it's unlikely. As for the others, I think Ricardo, he announced that he's retired recently. Not like officially, but he changed his LinkedIn or something to ex driver or something like that. So
I did see that.
Yeah, I think it's unlikely that he'll be back on the grid. The others, I think they're all pretty likely candidates to join the team.
I think Perez is a potential, even if just for the first couple of years while they get the team up and running, so they've got a more experienced driver. Same with Bottas. I think Magnussen is less likely to come back, just because obviously he's got 2 young kids. He's doing well in sports cars. He seems pretty happy with himself. I think if Logan does come back, it would be like for a couple of seasons to get the team running, just so they can be like, oh, we have an American driver. Or he would come back as a reserve or test driver or something like that. So maybe not in the car every single week, but still at races and stuff. Another candidate I've seen a lot of is Mick Schumacher. Because allegedly there was a Cadillac like party and stuff. And he was the only driver there, and he was there with his manager. So, but that's completely allegedly. I've only seen a very blurry photo that I never would have guessed was him. So, I don't know how true that is, but I think that would be pretty fun to have him back on the grid, because he's a good driver. He's just in he was just in a really, really bad car with a not great team principal. So.
Yeah, I did hear about the Schumacher rumors as well, but I also heard that he was at that Cadillac event with his manager, not because he'd already been signed or not because he was already in talks, but actually just to put his name forward. Yeah, but if we go back to, well, you can look back at our season predictions videos from the beginning of the season. I said that Zane Maloney, I said a Formula E driver would be announced as an F1 driver, and I said Zane Maloney was up there as a candidate. I'm not sure exactly. Okay. He hasn't been performing too well in Formula E, but I think he could be a candidate. However, Cadillac seems to want more experience. So it looks like it'll be an ex-F1 driver in at least one of the seats. I'm not sure about the other seat. I don't know if they want youth. I don't know if they want an American. It'll be fun to see where that goes.
Going back to the Schumacher rumors, he was allegedly at the Indy 500 hanging around and in the Andretti hospitality. Obviously, Andretti is very closely linked to Cadillac and all that. So that could be something. However, another driver that I would like to suggest, Frederick Vesti.
Yes.
He drives for Cadillac. in all the endurance races and stuff. He's got the experience of helping develop a car because he gets locked in the Mercedes simulator for like 48 hours during race weekends. Because if you ever see him post, it's always like ridiculous o'clock. It'll be like 4 p.m. British time. He's posted a picture of it, and then he'll be like done for the day, and it's 4 a.m, and you're like, whoa,
Yeah.
whoa,
He's put in
that's
hours.
he puts in the hours a lot. So I would love to see him in F1, but Loka has also mentioned that there are people that could do well in F2 and get a seat as well. I don't think that's that unlikely. However, I think they'd be a reserve driver for a year while the team gets settled. Because if you've got a new team, you've got like pretty much no money. So you're trying to get a decent car set up. You need to get all of that sorted. The last thing you want is a rookie who's still adjusting to the car. Because like everyone will be adjusting, obviously, because it's new regs. But even just that 2 years that Mick had would give him just that little bit of an edge over someone else, or the however many hours that Fred Vesti has put in a simulator would give him a little bit of an edge over a driver like, I don't know. I'm trying to think of who's in F2. Arvid Lindblad. Let's go with him. Luke Browning.
Yeah.
You know.
I was thinking Alex Dunn was a good candidate for a reserve driver position, but after Monaco, I don't know how many teams are going to be wanting such an aggressive driver like that in their car.
Mm-hmm. I did see a couple of people speculate that he could like go to Formula E and replace, is it Sam Bird?
Yeah, Sam Bird.
Yeah, in the McLaren, but then obviously McLaren are like, no, we're selling, so I don't think that'll be happening.
Clearly.
Yeah, if I can just jump in quickly, I think the Red Bull Juniors in F2 are probably the most likely to get a jump up.
There's so many of them.
As the biggest Yuki fan ever, I'm not going to pretend. I think there's some like echo going on. Tay, you maybe want to mute that. Thank you. Yeah, it was you. Look, with what Yuki's doing now, I can totally see like him not being with Red Bull at the end of the season. Obviously, I hope that he's going to turn that around and prove himself. Like, we don't know what's going to happen. But on the other hand, there's also obviously Liam Lawson, who, although he had points at this last weekend, it was a very different race to what we can expect from the rest of the season. So whether or not that will continue is very much up in the air. And I think Liam, more than Yuki, risks being kicked out at the moment, although I can see the sort of the tide turning against Yuki as well. I think the Red Bull Juniors are most likely to get a call up into VCARB. So I think the other teams, Bortoleto might have some issues, but I also feel like Sauber realizes that their car is just terrible and they can't really expect much from him. So he probably has an okay journey to next season, I would imagine, provided he doesn't do anything dramatically terrible during some of the races towards the end of the year. But yeah, I mean, Antonelli's fine, Hadjar's fine, Behrman's fine. It's really just Colapinto and Bortoleto and Lawson who I think could be in trouble. And then obviously you got to look at Alonso in Aston Martin, as well as Lance Stroll. Lance Stroll's actually having a decent season. I think people have overlooked his season for the most part. They tend to focus in on his bad races, but they don't look at his good races. And he's clearly outperformed Fernando Alonso this season.
Yeah.
So what the reasons for that are debatable, obviously, but I could totally see that Aston Martin lineup changing dramatically with Honda's influence, as well as just I feel like their drivers just kind of don't care anymore. Like I get this vibe that Alonso is like over it, and Lance Stroll just couldn't care less. And I can totally see them, both of them, for their own reasons, just being like, "Nah, I'm over this. I'm leaving." So there might be some movement at Aston. Obviously, we know they've been courting Max Verstappen, which would open up another seat at Red Bull, and a whole array of changes could happen in terms of where drivers are next season, depending on where Max goes. But I think for the most part, your best bet is that something happens at Red Bull, and Arvid Lindblad, or is it Pepe Martin?
Pepe Marti.
I'm not very good with the. Yeah. Like I think they could maybe make their way up into F1 next season, but it all depends on how those drivers in those teams perform this season. So, and we're not even halfway, so there's still a lot for them to do and a lot for them to prove. So I think perhaps it's a bit premature to be talking about this, but we're going to talk about it anyway. But I also feel like we've maybe now spoken about enough things. We're hitting over an hour.
Yeah, we have been going for a while.
Yeah, and while my internet is still connected, I think it's time to wrap this up. So
can I just add one thing really quickly?
Yeah, go for it, Niamh.
So, for those of you who can see, my background is an F1 Academy race. So, today, on the 28th of May, F1, the Academy, is coming out on Netflix. So, go and watch it. Like, I don't know if it'll be very documentary style or if it'll be very Drive to Survive style. Go and watch it. Go and support these drivers. They are incredibly talented. They are drivers of the future. And also, you'll get a good behind the scenes of what it is like to be a junior driver. Because I don't think many people realize how stressful that is, because they're paying for their seat, they're paying for everything. And a lot of the time, you're not going to make it. But they try anyway. And I just think that they're incredibly talented and we need to support them more. And also, I want more seasons of the F1 Academy show. I don't care if it's like a bunch of drivers I don't care about. I'm going to watch it anyway.
100%. I was actually watching it just before I joined the live stream. I think I watched the first 10 minutes of the first episode, and it actually seems very good. So far, it's only done a few little introductions into the drivers and the sport, but I think it shows exactly what you were saying, like how feeder series work and like why it's important to focus on these women getting into motorsport and encouraging other women to get into motorsport. I think it's going to be a good show, and I think it's going to be a very good thing to push this series more. I think people will see this series. There is a lot of people that watch Drive to Survive and don't watch F1. I think this could be similar in encouraging people to watch F1 Academy in the way that Drive to Survive was for F1. I think it's very exciting to see where this will go.
But also, the really fun thing about
just
F1
jump
Academy,
in there.
Cool. Yes.
Sorry, I just wanted to say, like, don't just watch the Netflix show. Watch F1 Academy. Watch the races are lots of fun. There's lots of overtaking. There's lots of challenges for like places and the lead. And I really think that the racing, in terms of entertainment value, has been far greater in F1 Academy than it has been in F1 this season. Now, that's for many different reasons, but one of those reasons is that they're all driving the same car. So it really comes down to the talent of the drivers as opposed to the strategies of the team or who has Adrian Newey in their garage at any given time, So there's a lot of excitement happening on track when it comes to F1 Academy. So make sure you watch it. The races are free to watch on YouTube, so you got no excuses. pull in there. It takes, I think the races are like half an hour long, maybe a bit less.
Yeah.
It's not a big commitment, and trust me, you will enjoy it. And also, it's always fun to see the different liveries on the different teams. Obviously, every F1 team has a driver sponsored in F1 Academy, and then there's a few other companies that also sponsor, like Tommy Hilfiger or Charlotte Tilbury. I don't know. Tilbury sounds like a baking. Oh, that's Pillsbury. Sorry, but yeah, Charlotte Tilbury. She's great when she actually comes to watch, because her reactions to what she's seeing on track are like next level. But yeah, make sure you watch F1 Academy. And Niamh, you wanted to say, go for it.
I just wanted to mention that these girls have all got incredible amounts of potential, and they've all got really, really stacked resumes. Like Doriane, who came second last year, she won Ferrari Challenge in like 2020. She's done really well in sports cars. She's part of the Iron Dames program. She's done Le Mans. She's done 24 Hours of Daytona. She's done all of them. She's got an incredibly stacked resume, and she just jumped in single-seaters for the first time at the end of 2023. And she's doing all of this, and she's performing pretty well in Formula Regional as well. But even like drivers further back in the field, like Leah Block, first year in single-seaters, youngest ever and first female American rally champion. She won it like less than 2 years after she got into a rally car for the first time. She'll be, I think she's 18.
Yeah.
Like, she's got such a good career ahead of her. And so you can get in now and be like, oh, I've been a fan of her since this year, so that when one of them goes and becomes like first full-time female driver in F1, you can be like, actually, I've been supporting her longer than you. I'm not a new fan. I know all about her karting details or whatever.
Yeah.
You can be one of those fans.
Yeah.
And just
some of these girls are straight out of karts as well.
Mm-hmm.
They've won karting championships, and they've climbed the ranks in karting, and this is their first time in a single-seater Formula car, and they're competing at the same level as these accomplished drivers, and they're doing well. You can say that you've been there since their first year of driving a Formula car, and I think that's an incredible, like, just way to get into motorsports and get support these women.
Because some of the drivers this year are literally just 16, like the minimum age. I think it's Alba Larson and Joanne Seconte. The two of them are like born in December 2008, so they are young. And then there's also a maximum age, so it's not like in F2 where there was a 17-year-old competing against a 30-year-old like there was a few years ago.
Yeah.
They are young, and they've all got potential to go on and do great things, and we should support them. Just go watch F1 Academy. The girls are amazing. I could talk about them for days, but I think we should probably cut this a bit short before I do start talking about them for days.
Yeah, I think this might be our longest stream.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in quickly. No, Immy and I have gone longer, but yeah, this is still good though. I just want to quickly say to Loka. Loka says, I got to head off now, unfortunately. I've really enjoyed today's stream, and I will definitely be tuning in when I can for more lives like this. Have a brilliant day, and enjoy the Spanish Grand Prix. And I have to just echo that statement. Thank you very much, Loka. And I've just lost connection. Have I? I don't know. It's quite possible.
You're back a little bit.
Good Lord.
But anyway.
I'm back. Okay. So thank you to Loka, and thank you to everyone for tuning in to Traffic Paradise Radio. All I will say is that Niamh, I think it's high time that we did a F1 Academy stream. Just F1 Academy. So work on that, and I will happily be joining you on that stream because I am a big fan.
One
but yeah,
Canada.
I just
Might do that.
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good. So make sure you subscribe, because if you do, you'll catch that stream as well as all of our other streams, especially race reactions and race predictions for Formula One. And every now and then Tay goes to a cool event in Japan and posts something cool. So on our shorts. So yeah, subscribe, make sure to leave a like, and if you're watching this in the future, not as a live stream, leave a comment down below and let us know who you think is going to win, who you think is going to be on pole, and what do you think is your wild card prediction for the Spanish Grand Prix. I do want to just quickly add this one. Uno, #1 Oscar fan from Kuro, who's actually Immy. Immy usually runs these things, and that's why I have an Oscar Piastri profile picture, because I've taken over the account and I'm running it today. But Oscar's lovely, but I'm a Yuki fan, and so really that picture should be Yuki. But it's fine. We made it through today.
There's a lot of 22.
And a big thank you to Tay and Niamh for big thank you to Niamh and Tay for making the stream work, because I was unavailable for most of it. And yeah, all we can ask you to do is tune in next week for our reaction to the Spanish Grand Prix. And all the best to your driver, whoever it may be, especially if it's Yuki Tsunoda. And from the team here at Traffic Paradise Radio, from Tay, from Niamh, from Uno, and from everyone on the Discord, thank you so much for tuning in. Have a good rest of your day or night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
I'm going to see if I can play some music. Can I play music? Oh, that's the wrong thing. Whoops. That's not what I wanted to play.
The whole podcast, guys.
That's the intro. Whoops.
Welcome to Traffic Paradise Radio.
Oh, okay. Hold on. Wait. Let's see. There's a song here somewhere. If I can play it. Ah, there we go. Okay. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.